Strange things you say.
What's up, VC? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. Let's turn this down a little bit. In the background, I'm listening to The Church of Skins and Heart. Here in the U.S., it was just called The Church. This is their first album from '81. This is the Australian release. This is actually a U.S. Release, but it was a very short-run U.S. release of their original Australian press. If you haven't listened to The Church, a very cool band that's gone into kind of, you know, they've changed over time. They did some post-punk, mostly post-punk and new age, I guess, or new wave. But they kind of dabbled in kind of post-psych a little bit over the course of their run. They had some really cool stuff, but really good band from the early 80s. Their fourth or fifth album was pretty popular here in the U.S. Starfish. This is the one where they kind of blew up. Sorry if you can't see that. But all of their stuff is really good. Definitely recommend you check it out. I have their first 5 albums on cassette. I don't have them on vinyl yet. That'll be something down the road, but pretty killer band. Regardless, it's time for my 100 subs contest. I hit 100 subs on, I believe, Sunday. Thanks to everybody from the Facebook page for pushing me over the top. It's been a killer run so far. I've really enjoyed the VC. I've been posting videos since, I believe, January, and then I've been active on the Facebook page and watching videos probably since November or December. I was watching the videos for a few months before I posted my first one. So first I want to thank everybody for subbing, and then there's a couple people I just kind of want to point out that relationships with them over the last 6 or 7 months have been really special, really important. I've learned a lot from you guys. There's a lot of music that I'm now listening to that I was introduced to by the members I'm about to thank. And I'm going to be forgetting some people, so I apologize up front for that. But some of the people I want to thank are going to be Jeremy Ginger, Brett Helm, definitely for... He's turned me on to quite a few bands that, or reminded me of some bands as well that I had either forgotten about or not listened to, and I found some pretty cool music that way. And then also for developing the Facebook, YouTube, or the YouTube VC page on Facebook. If you're not a member there and posting, it's a great community on Facebook, and most of the members will be familiar with them here. I got to thank LJ. There's a lot of music that I've bought based on his recommendations and based on his reviews. He was one of the first people in the VC that whose videos I watched. I think when I first watched his first video, I went through like 10 or 15 that first couple nights. So AJ, Robert Z, definitely, I've learned a lot from you. We've had some really good discussions. Carson Olson, the same thing. Derek Higgins, you've turned me on to a lot of music. While I don't always agree with all of your views on everything, I agree on a lot, and we've had some good back and forth a couple of times based on that. And you've also turned me on to some pretty cool music that I wouldn't have found otherwise. Lindsay, I know you haven't been around. You're definitely missed here in the VC. Again, we had some great discussions, a number of them, and then also you've turned me on to some really killer music as well. So, you know, I hope to see you again. You know, I hope you see this. Also, Corey, Lee, Adam, Otavio. Again, we've had some really good discussions back and forth. I love watching the videos, and I love being part of the community with you guys. So we'll just kind of end it at that and get to the contest. There will be a couple of, I've decided I'm going to do 2 prizes, and then I'll let, obviously the winner's going to select, and then get first choice, second place will get second choice. So it's going to be 2 questions. And there's been similar questions asked in the past, but maybe not this way. So the first question I want to ask is, or the first thing I'd like to see is, I'd like to see an album that really changed you, changed your perspectives on music, or changed the way you look at music. Just had some kind of physical change, or emotional change, or mental change. That album for me, I don't actually have on vinyl. It was never released on vinyl that I can find. I have it on CD in a box somewhere, but I have it on my iTunes, and it still gets pretty heavy rotation. I listen to it pretty regularly in the gym. It's actually a tribute album. It's Stone Free, a tribute to Jimi Hendrix. An amazing, amazing album. It kind of really changed the way I looked at music and got me into Jimi Hendrix, oddly enough. Let's turn this down a little bit. And I'll put a link down below to the CD if you want to check it out. It's got some amazing artists on it. But the song that really got me was MACC, or the band MACC, which was a little hodgepodge of Seattle players. It had Jeff Ament, Mike McCready, I want to say Chris Cornell, and I don't remember who the fourth person was. But the very last track on the album was Land of the New Rising Sun. It's one of my favorite Jimi Hendrix songs because of that. Beautiful, beautiful song. If you haven't heard Land of the New Rising Sun, or Hey Baby, or Hey Baby Land, it's got different titles depending on which album it was on, and depending on and what was listed on the Stone Free album. Additionally, I want to say who all was on there. Oh my goodness, Pat Metheny was on there. I'll post a link down below so you can check it out. I definitely highly recommend that. But it was the first album that made me think, man, I want to be a musician. Like, I never before that considered myself. I always listened to music. I was always listening to the radio, but I never collected music. I never bought much at that point. I actually got this CD for the simple fact that, I want to say it was '91, my dad sent me my first CD player. It was a little portable Sony CD player, and I didn't have any CDs to play in it. So I did what a lot of us did in '90 or '91, and I pulled up either BMG or a Columbia House ad that I had floating around the house somewhere, and did the 10 for a penny, and then of course never bought another album after that, as again a lot of us did. I just didn't have the money back then to pay $15 for an album or whatever it was at the time. But the two albums that I remember from that, and two very influential albums for me, were Legend from Bob Marley and then Stone Free. The first time I listened to Stone Free, I was hooked. And that was the point when I really got into music. That's when I started collecting or buying music whenever I had money. At the time, it was a lot of tapes and discount bin CDs. But I really started listening to the music. It wasn't just something in the background. I started paying attention to the lyrics. I started paying attention to the instrumentation. And I would say within a year of that, I bought my first drum set. And that just took me to the next level. Within 2 or 3 years, I was playing in my first band, doing shows in Phoenix and Tempe area, and it really did change me. Now the second question is, I want to hear about a musical experience or an event that you went to that changed you. And I've touched on this before, I think in I want to say in Maggie's contest a while back. I talked about this a little bit. I went to see the Beastie Boys. I want to say it was '95. It was the Ill Communication tour. Bad Brains opened up for them. That was my introduction to Bad Brains. And Bad Brains was a really cool band. They actually they finished their set and then they jumped down into the crowd and they were in the mosh pits with us. They were they were jumping around and just going crazy as the Beastie Boys played. And I thought that was the first time I had ever seen a band do that. So I thought that was a really cool experience. But the reason, what changed me about this event was You know, I had already loved the Beastie Boys. You know, one of my first cassette tapes in '86 or '87. I shouldn't say one of my first. The first two cassettes that I bought myself were Beastie Boys and LL Cool J, Bigger and Deffer and Ill Communication. I've listened to the Beastie Boys. I started listening to them with that album. Obviously, if you've seen my other videos, I really love their punk stuff. I also love their jazz, you know, the jazz funk kind of mix that they do on albums like In Sound from Way Out, and they've done a couple other albums. Like they're just not off the top of my head, or on the top of my head right now. But experiencing that live, at this point, all I had heard was kind of their hip hop tinged albums. You know, Check Your Head is a favorite of mine. Paul's Boutique. Ill Communication got more into the, got a little more aggressive, and it kind of mixed the punk with the hip hop. And I love that. But I went there, and after every song or two, they would bust into these jazz funk instrumentals. And they literally blew me away. I had never really listened to anything like that before. Nobody in my family, even though I come from a family of musicians, you know, my grandfather has a long history of honky-tonkin' in Louisiana. He played with a lot of the country greats from the late 40s, the 50s, and the early 60s. One of the members from his band recorded with some of the biggest names, recorded with Hank Williams, recorded with Johnny Cash, a couple of other people, Roy Acuff. You know, so I have that background in country music. My dad is a musician. He always played. He was never an active musician. My dad always played guitar as I was a kid growing up. And from him, I got to listen to a lot of Southern rock, him playing stuff like that, playing country as well. So I grew up around the rock and the country. I had never really listened to any jazz or blues, and that completely blew my mind. And from there, I really got into, I said jazz and blues, I meant jazz and funk. I really started listening to jazz. I really started listening to funk. From there, I got into Jaco Pastorius, who's kind of a musical hero of mine. He's amazing. If you're not familiar with Jaco Pastorius, look him up. Look up The Weather Report. I think he came on about their 4th album. But and I got into Jean-Luc Ponty. That led me into Coltrane. You know, and it just goes from there to Buddy Rich. And it just spirals and spirals, and I got into all these different sounds. And from there, I started branching into other types of music. You know, I got out of that mindset where, you know, I was in a heavy metal band. I only listened to heavy metal, which is the way I was. All I bought for years was heavy metal and hard rock. And it's real easy to get caught up in that. And honestly, that's the way most people live their life. You know, they have one style of music they like, and that's pretty much what they stick to. And as a musician, that really limits you. And especially with drums. When I got into jazz and started learning some basic jazz riffing and jazz fills, it totally changed the way I played music. When I started listening to funk, stuff like Funkadelic, you know, I mean, it changed the way I started playing. And then it just went on and on from there, and I just had this desire to listen to other stuff and try other styles of music. You know, and a lot of that stuff I no longer like, you know, or I'm just not into anymore, but I've had that experience, and I grew from that experience. So that's my 2 questions. An album that changed you, and a musical experience that changed you. It doesn't have to be a concert, just some sort of musical experience. So let's get to the prizes. Like I said, I'm going to choose a couple different people, and they'll be able to choose from 4 prizes. So first up is this one, Violator. This is, you know, I've talked about this before. This is one of my favorite albums from the 80s. This is the repress that came out a couple of months ago. I actually found, literally like 3 days after I bought this, I found an original pressing of Violator from Depeche Mode in mint condition. And went ahead and decided that I would use this as a prize. I thought about keeping it. It sounds really good. I played them back to back, and they both sound amazing. It's one that I think they did a good job of mastering it, similar to the original. Great album though, so that'll be one of the choices. Choice number 2, Metallica, the 598 EP, Garage Days Revisited. This one is, I would say that the sleeve is, I would call it VG Plus if it wasn't for the fact that somebody wrote $1 on there, which is kind of silly. However, a little bit of ring wear. Got the original Electra insert, and then the album's in VG Plus as well. So I'll give you the option of Metallica. And then for the third option, so you can just send me a copy of your wish list, and I'll just surprise you with something from your wish list. And I do want to encourage those of you guys in Europe and my followers from overseas, I want you to participate too. If by chance one of you wins, we'll work something out. If it's a gift card that I have to send you for $25 or something like that, or we'll figure something out. Or maybe you can pick something from Amazon UK or one of the European Amazons, and I can have it shipped to your address. Whatever, we can work that out. But that's my contest. I hope you dig it. I really look forward to your answers. Again, I want to thank everybody in the vinyl community. Whether I apologize if I missed one of you when I was singling people out. There's a lot of you out there that have really done a lot for me in the last 6 months. So again, thank you. And again, I look forward to hearing your responses. And take care of you.